Cheers. Thank you, Nino, and Christina and Google as well. My name again is John Boero. I am actually not, there we go, thank you. I am based actually in London. I cover all of EMEA for HashiCorp. First time in Georgia, and I'm happy to be here. Anybody who's heard of HashiCorp before maybe doesn't know what we do. Terraform, people have used Vagrant, all have come from HashiCorp, right? So a bit of an introduction and how I would say that I introduced the concept of DevOps to layman's terms, to someone who doesn't know what DevOps is, right? Essentially, DevOps is a managed infrastructure as code, right? Now, gene therapy, you think of it the same way. This is a biology analogy. Changes are made to genes, changes are made to your infrastructure, right? That is archived over time, that is version controlled, that has a full audit trail. Who's responsible for making changes? Who agrees to a change, right? You have the ability to roll back from mistakes and link multiple environments, or in the case of infrastructure, you have the ability to integrate clouds or multiple environments, right? At any point in time, should any part of your infrastructure fail, you can rebuild that, right? Much like you can clone a new organism with your DNA, right? You won't restore those memories, you won't restore the data, but you are able to clone and reproduce the structure that you need for that environment, right? Now we introduce the security side of it, and we have what we are here for today. So in Tbilisi, again, I did my homework last night. Actually, on the way here, I read through the entire Wikipedia history of Tbilisi and Georgia. Really fascinated to find out some things that a lot of Westerners probably don't think about, like Caucasian, the background for the Caucasus region, right? The oldest evidence of wine, again, thank you, Georgia, favorite beverage. I did a lot more research on that last night, by the way. The fascinating geopolitical history here. Ironically, the Wikipedia section on history is one of the largest of any region I've been to. It's amazing. And full of all kinds of twists and turns. I always thought that Turkey was the center of East and West. Georgia seems to be very much more on the edge of East and West in history. And also the fact that there is an emerging tech hub here, I was surprised. There are plenty of partners of HashiCorp in Ukraine as well. I've not been to Georgia yet and seen the environment we have here, but look at this room. Raise your hand if you've used Terraform before. Can we get a volunteer show of hands? Yeah, plenty. I'm loving to see that. That's wonderful. And as I'm based in England, I actually noticed quite a few of these interesting comparisons, right? Here's the coat of arms for Georgia, coat of arms for the UK, or sorry, for England, and the English flag and the Georgian flag, very similar. England, by the way, is in quite a bit of the history of Georgia. So, history of HashiCorp, again, founded 2012. We've just crossed 2,000 employees. Based in San Francisco, otherwise completely remote company, which is great. We just recently had an IPO in December, and we crossed our HashiConf EU event in Amsterdam about a month ago, 4 weeks ago, and our HashiConf Global is coming up in Los Angeles, and I believe in October. So if anybody is curious about that or wants to go, let me know. Okay. Now, the full stack, and I won't go through in too much detail because I'm going to later talk about Zero Trust and how that fits with this model, but we have a full stack of 8 independent projects and products, right? What I like to call a project, which is purely open source, and products which are built with the intention of having enterprise offerings, commercial support, right? Again, we started with Vagrant. Anybody who's used Vagrant to spin up VMs on a local laptop, that's great for development. Packer for managing the images that you use across multi-clouds or multi-hypervisors. Then we have our beginning of our commercial offerings, right? So these products were built from the ground up to have a community side and an enterprise side for production use, where compliance is key. So again, we have Terraform, used across the globe, used in production environments and banks, and I'll get to the actual logo list later in the Zero Trust talk. Vault for our security, right? Our secrets management. Many of you probably have used that a little bit right now. Console for connectivity and service discovery, which is, again, very important when you're talking about hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, or WANs distributed around the globe. And Nomad, our orchestrator, Nomad is the closest thing I think HashiCorp has to an operating system, right? And then we have the new emerging products, actually Boundary, which I'll talk a little bit about, and Zero Trust. Boundary is a person-to-service communication, whereas Console is a service-to-service communication. Boundary is about people connecting to services, right? And that will have an enterprise offering in the roadmap in the next year or so. So we have an open source option right now, and we have an enterprise version coming. And then Waypoint, we have basic deployment tool to do basic deployment pipelines with HCL and in a HashiCorp native way. So we don't develop a new project unless it follows our Tao, or philosophy of HashiCorp. So we go by these 8 tenets: workflows, not technology, right? We don't want to just get so obsessed with technology that we forget why we use the technology. We want everything to be simple, modular, and composable so that you can develop plugins, extensions. You don't have to buy our whole stack or use our whole stack. You can use individual components of that any way you like, right? Number 3, communicating sequential processes so that you have inputs, outputs, you have a CI/CD pipeline that you can insert our tools into seamlessly. Immutability, classic help desk methodology, right? It's not working, turn it off, turn it back on again, right? In the cloud, that means destroy and rebuild, right? That's the closest thing you can do to resetting an environment. Trust that everything should be able to be destroyed and brought back up, so it's immutable. Okay, version through codification, again, gene therapy. Everything is in version control, GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket. Everything is audited, time-stamped, and then able to be rolled back, right? 7, resilient systems. So any of those projects, which is a service, a Vault, Console, Nomad, Terraform is actually a tool, right? Not much of a service. Terraform you run when you need. But the rest of the products, which are services, are designed to be HA, clustered by default. We want everything to be fault tolerant. And number 8, my favorite one, pragmatism. Meaning if it's not serving a purpose, if it's not solving a problem, why are we doing it, right? Only do things that help you or help the environment that you're working with. Coincidentally, now I have a little Go logo on the bottom because as a consequence of these choices, we use Go as our standard language for everything we do since Vagrant, which now is also being ported to Go. So thank you, Google, again, for Vagrant. Sorry, for Golang. Now, a little bit about the partner ecosystem. My job as a partner solutions engineer, I think that's the most fun job in the company because I get to deal with the partners. Thank you, HT Solutions, again. I get to do events like this. Now, this in the US has dedicated teams for individual components, cloud service providers, technological alliances, technological integrations. In Europe, we don't have as many people, so I get to do all of those together. It's wonderful. And we have a couple of the vendors here, I think, today. Well, we have Google, obviously. We have some Aqua integrations, I believe, in the Terraform side as well. So I'll get to this more detailed in the Zero Trust environment, but we talk about this problem that everybody's facing. And in the US, maybe they treat things a little differently, right? Everybody is going from static data center to a cloud, to a dynamic environment. Trusted cabling, static IP addresses, static network routes, those don't work if you're trying to do a gradual migration to a cloud, or if you're trying to take the cloud mentality, right? So all of our tools are designed to trust that everything is shifting, everything is dynamic, and your IP addresses may be different the next day. Your containers and Kubernetes or GKE will be different from day to day, minute to minute. So we want to make sure that you are enabled to do that smoothly. Okay, so we have the bottom-up approach with our core products, Terraform for provisioning infrastructure. And one thing I'll talk about later is how people tend to overuse this a little bit. I don't want people to think that Terraform is for everything, right? Terraform is not for deploying your services. Yes, people can do it, but Terraform is about the infrastructure, right? We'll show how orchestrators, Nomad and Kubernetes, again, can be used to simplify your services on top of the infrastructure that Terraform deploys, right? Once we had Terraform identifying our infrastructure as code, quickly we realized that secrets were involved, right? Cloud credentials had to be secured. So we created Vault as a weekend project, which is now our #1 source of revenue, right? Then on top of that, we realized once Terraform has deployed resources, Terraform is not a babysitter. It's not going to make sure that your services are still running, right? Console is there to do that. Console is a service discovery tool to monitor services, endpoints, and reroute network traffic accordingly. And then finally, again, console's there to tell you, hey, there's a service down or a node down, but it's not going to do anything about that, right? Nomad is there to either restart services, move to a different node, or make sure that things are restarted. So again, just briefly, the 3 core tenets of DevOps: tools to deploy services using workflows, services to monitor them for failure and connections, and services to orchestrate and recover failed services. And when I put these up here, I get Vault, being the secret side of that, not just DevOps, but DevSecOps, adding Vault to give me secure secrets management, Terraform for provisioning that infrastructure. Again, console is there to monitor services and also do a secure MTLS connection between my services automatically, right? Nomad, the final piece, again, services to orchestrate and recover from failed services and service outages. Okay, so thank you again. I'm just wrapping up, and I'm going to hand off to the next.